Brilliant. Fabulous. Thank you very much. So,
It must be.
for those who joined earlier on, I did sort of just very quickly say, you may find that this training today is just a lot of me talking, so I do apologize in advance for that. However, I hope it will also be very, very beneficial for people, even if you're only picking bits and pieces up. But from last week's training, when I opened the floor to question and answers, I very quickly realized that a lot of the questions were actually not to do with that training as such and more about the things I'm going to speak about, which is being a travel agent in general. And that might sound silly because that's exactly what we're all doing. But if there's, I have learned a hell of a lot of things on the way, things that you wouldn't necessarily know were trigger words for people, and closing the sales, overcoming the objections, just ways to get around those things, different things to try. Obviously, what you do or may not feel comfortable with, and putting your own personality into it. So straight away, the thing I want to say is that people really do buy from people. I'm sure we've all heard it somewhere along the line, but it really is true. And obviously, the further along you get in this journey, hopefully you'll start being able to build real careers out of it. And eventually, why not everybody just quit their own 9 to 5 jobs and just do this for a living? It's possible, more than possible. So the first thing to know is, yeah, people really do buy from people. Obviously, there are cost factors and things like that that make a difference. But once you hit that rapport with any customer, that almost becomes priceless. The trust element is there. And the truth of the matter is, you may have somebody on that email or on the end of that phone who goes away once a year. They may go away 5 times a year. On the flip side, you could be booking their first holiday in 5 years, 10 years plus. You just never, ever know. So trust is a really, really big part of that. They need to feel comfortable and confident in handing their money over to you. Not only are they just handing the money over to you, it could be savings. It could have taken these, your clients a year, 2 years of getting this in and really, really going for it. And they just need to know, and they need to be sure that they're giving that to the right person. That is something to always bear in mind. There isn't necessarily any tricks or anything to that. It's just making sure that you sound confident if you're talking to them on the phone. You may well not have gone to the place that they're asking you for. You may not know anything about it. I've had a couple of people asking me for places that I genuinely have never even heard of in the past. And you do kind of have to wing it to a degree. Now, that's easier for us guys because we're not sat face to face. So that is actually easier. But yeah, as long as you sound confident, they will feel confident. And it truly is as simple as that. If you then have to put that phone down and panic for half an hour because you've never heard of this and you don't know what you're doing and you don't know where to go, that is okay. There is then myself and obviously sites and people at the ends of phones that can then help with that. But as long as it doesn't come across that way while you're talking to them, they're never going to know otherwise. I also wanted to touch into social media. I am not by any stretch of the imagination fantastic with technology. I don't claim to be. So I'm certainly not going to sit here and explain to people what is going to work and what isn't going to work on social media as such. I've done a little bit of social media training with regards to posting offers and things, but I have found of late so many suppliers are doing that for us. We don't even really need to put any work in. But where you can really make a difference on social media is those customers that comment. It might be that they're tagging the partner, or it might be that they're asking, is there any other dates for this? Or anything. You see it all the time on anybody's post. It could be TUI, you'll see it. It could be another home working agent, you'll see them. It's all the same comments. They can't do that date, they can do a different one. Or, like I say, they're tagging people in it. You need to jump on those. They are leads, and it is as simple as that. Now, obviously, you never want to bombard a customer. Nobody expects you to do that. But as soon as you see somebody tagging somebody else, you know that there's an interest there. It could be the dates, it could be the destination, it could be the price. That's your job to figure. But either which way, there's interest. If they comment and tag somebody, there is nothing stopping you as the agent, not obviously as your own personal Facebooks if you've got two different ones, and put in just something a little bit cheeky. It doesn't have to be, deadly serious or anything like that. It could be somebody called, let's just use me. So my partner James has tagged me. And then the agent who has put that on has then responded and put, does this take your fancy then, James? Is it Shani you're taking with you? It's a bit nosy. That doesn't matter. You know the interest is there. You, as that person who has gone out of your way to find that deal and post it, get a bit of a rapport going. Even putting on there, if you'd like to inbox me about this, I can certainly give you more details. Drop me a DM, whatever it might be. If you can engage with that customer, something might not be quite right. They might not be able to do those dates. They might have been to that place before, whatever it might be. But you've interacted, you've got that initial conversation going, and you can absolutely take it from there. Before you know it, you could have another inquiry sat in your inbox and booking them something completely different, but you've made that initial interaction. It is really, really important to do that. There are so many different sites, different agents that are all doing the same thing. So try and find something a little bit different. Get in there with that customer. If you've got your own tagline, put it on there. If if you are a comedic person, I'm not really, I don't claim to be funny as such, but anything at all, put it on there, make them want to come to you. Intrigue, the cost that you put on, the destinations that you're putting on, whatever it may be, use social media to death. Anybody who wants to go a little bit further than that can also promote their deals and things as well. There is a cost to that. So obviously that is entirely down to you. But I think that I've not done it for a couple of years. The last time I did it in my previous employment, it was as low as like £1.99 that you could, reach more people with your post and it'd get promoted and things like that. So if you are absolutely going for it, there is things like that you can do as well. Absolutely appreciate that is people's, your guys' own money. But at the same time, it isn't money that is going to break the bank either. So that was just touching on social media and literally just how you can grab people from there. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, I suppose, the journey of speaking to a customer and just some little things of what I've learned aren't great to say and things that are better used. So, and this is where it flips on its head from what I said earlier. It's harder for us now. It's harder over the phone because you can't gauge that person's reaction. There's no facial expressions, there's no body language that you've got to go off. You are solely using your voice, your ears, which is a huge thing. Always make sure you're listening to them. And obviously you're having to bounce back off each other without actually seeing that customer. So when it comes to the journey of, you're going to get some that absolutely know what they want, where they want to go, etc. You're going to get others that don't. Either one, it doesn't matter. You work exactly the same. The word budget has always been classed since I was that teenager all those times ago, all those lifetimes ago, always been classed as a negative word. And we use it all the time. It comes so natural when you're selling things. Budget, simple. But it has been shown to be a negative word. It's a closed question. Have you got a budget in mind? No. Well, I'm stuck now. Do you want me to find you something that's £400 or do you want me to find you something that's £4,000? Do you have a budget? Yes, £500. Closed. That's it. You've closed that question off. If you were to change that to, did you have a price in mind? Then, although you are asking exactly the same thing, just slightly more open question gives them an opportunity to give slightly more of an open answer. So, did you have a price in mind? Yes, £500. Okay, no problem. Is that something that you've seen? Is that something that you're hoping to spend? And it's flowing the conversation. And as I say, a lot of being on the phone to somebody is using your ears as well as your own mouth. So it's keeping it flowing, it's open questions. Another one that's really good to use if you don't want to necessarily, it can also be daunting asking people about price. I appreciate that. Change it up again, research. Have you done any research yourselves? It's so simple. It's such a straightforward question to ask, but they will pour out to you. Yes, I've been online. Yes, I went into a local travel agent's. No, I'm not very good at technology, whatever it may be. But just using more open questions keeps it all going, keeps it all flowing. You know, if you ask somebody what research they've done and they tell you that they've been into their local travel agent, my first question would be, although I may not say it out loud to them, in my head, my first question would be, why didn't you book with them? There's a problem. So you need to then get to the root of what that problem was. Okay, brilliant. How did you find them? They couldn't find what I wanted. They were too overpriced. Okay, what prices were they giving you? You've still not asked them the question, but you're getting costs out of them. And they then are telling you that their local travel agent gave them a cost of £800 and it was too expensive. You have that then, quickly make a note of it, whatever it might be, if you're on the phone, of course, that £800 is too expensive. Then just start picking out what they want. As silly as it sounds, some people don't care about being a mile away from the beach, or they absolutely have to be able to step out onto the beach. If you can get as much information as possible, all you are doing is securing yourself more so at the end of the process. So you've done everything, you have a list of 5 things that absolutely were on the top 5 things, let's say. It had to have a pool, it had to have air conditioning, it had to have a gym, it had to be within 15 minutes of the beach and a short transfer. Let's just say that that is their things. You go away and you find that holiday. You've got written down in front of you what their top 5 things are. Doesn't have to be 5 either. I've just used that. But some things people will not compromise on, and you just need to find out if there is any. Once you've got those jotted down and you can tick those confidently off the list with what you found, by the time you call that customer back, you then have a solid read back in front of you. And what I mean by that is you are literally ticking their boxes for them. So if you have then gone slightly overpriced, you will find nowadays that when people say they want to spend £500, they've probably got maybe 650 aside. They want to spend £1,000, they'll probably go up to 1,300. And that is just the way that things are nowadays. People will try it on, wingle and wangle in Del Boy kind of thing. If you've got a solid list in front of you that you can read back to that customer, so, hello, Mr. Jones, it's Shana. I wanted to give you a call, let you know what I found for you. So, what I've come up with is Lanzarote. I know you said you wanted a flight within 5 hours, so I've got that for you. I know you said you wanted at least two restaurants to choose from the week. The hotel I found has actually got four. Um, it's got the swimming pools you asked for. It's a 25-minute transfer, etc., etc., etc. And that is coming in at £1,200. It might be £200 over the budget, £100 per person. If they then come back with a blocker of cost, you then know that you've got in front of you your absolute golden list, or their golden list, as we'll call it, their golden list. So what you can then do is you can then start saying to them, okay, that's the price that I found with no compromises. You've told me that these are the things you absolutely had to have. I found them for you, just slightly over the budget or slightly over the price you wanted to pay. Then you can start bringing compromises in. So I did also find this hotel. Now, this does come in at £1,000, which I know was your ideal price. However, you are losing, I don't know, let's say you're now a 15-minute walk from the beach, and it's in a different resort, which is slightly quieter, and that's going to be about 50 minutes on your coach transfer. But you're bringing the price down. So you're giving them the two options. Do you want it all? If you do, this is how much it's sort of going to cost you. If you're happy to compromise on some things, I can get what you're after. This is what you're losing type of thing. So things like that, readbacks, as I say, they sound so straightforward, but you'd be surprised. You don't necessarily write those things down, or you may not find out if they are going to compromise on them or if they are 100% adamant that they need that. And it could be something as simple as a gym. You'd be quite surprised to see how many hotels don't have what some would call a decent gym nowadays. If they're willing to pay the price for exactly what they want, they will pay it. You going above and beyond, they will pay it. So using that readback is always, always a really, really good thing to do. So simple, so straightforward. You need those kind of details anyway, but then you can also flip it a little bit and use it in your favour. So the prices and the readbacks and things like that, they do coincide with each other. Very different, but also very, very similar. And as I say, they just tie everything together as well. And then the final thing that I've got written down, I'm sure I can probably think of plenty of other things that will pop into my head, but the other thing I've popped down in my notes is closing the sale. So if you do all of that work, and I've seen it a few times, I've seen it on here on these trainings, I've seen it on emails coming through. You do all of this work and then allow your customer to go and ring 5 other agents and go to the local travel agents down the road and look themselves online to come back to you and say, I found it £50 cheaper. And you've sat, straightforward, could be a couple of hours. Something a bit more tailor-made could take you a couple of days, whatever it might be. Either which way, you have put that work in, you have put that effort in. The customers are happy with what you have given them because they're taking your details and they're running off somewhere else with them. It can be so disheartening. You really, really can't take it personally. But what you do need to do is try and get ahead of it, ahead of them being able to go down to the local travel agents and face to face somebody saying, come on, you may as well book it with me now. Is very difficult to say no to if it is the holiday that you want. So you absolutely do need to be in there just that bit quicker. Again, I don't ever expect anybody to bombard a customer at all, but you can set expectations with a customer, and if anything, they'll appreciate it. You will get the odd one who will say, oh no, that doesn't work. But you'll find 9 times out of 10, if you speak to a customer, you give them everything, you give them everything over the phone, and then you say to them, I'm going to email it to you so that you've got all of the details. Always do that as well. Always speak to somebody over the phone rather than just via email. If you can get the chance to speak to somebody on a call, um, you will find out a lot more. You'll build such a bigger rapport. Everything it glues it all together again. If I sent a text message saying hello to 10 of my friends, I can guarantee that 6 of those 10 would take it differently. One would think I was maybe being a bit funny and being a bit, hello. One would be like, hello, are you okay? Another one would be, yes, what do you want? They'd all take it differently, not necessarily how I meant to send it or how I wanted it to come across. It's exactly the same with an email. So if you get the chance, make sure you're speaking to them on the phone. Excuse me. And just build that extra bit of rapport. So read it all back to them over the phone. Tell them you're still going to send it to them on an email. They don't need to bother writing anything down. You can expect that within the next 5 minutes. I can do it now while I've got you on the line. I've actually already sent them to you. I just wanted to give you a call, make sure you'd received them, ask if there was any questions, anything like that, just touching base. If you then say to that customer, what are we on today? Tuesday, is it? Yeah, Tuesday. So if this was today and you then said to a customer, what are your thoughts on that? Oh, yeah, I think it's brilliant. Okay, perfect. Are we wanting to get that booked? Then listen, if every single customer just turned around and went, yeah, absolutely, we'd be laughing. The truth of the matter is that isn't always going to happen. So Brian is going to need to speak to Linda, or Brian and Linda are going to need to speak to the children because they're going on a family holiday, whatever it might be. No problem at all. I completely understand that it's not just your holiday. If you want to spin it on its head there and then, go for it. If you've got the guts, shall we say, it's a bit ballsy. You'll all get there eventually. Once you can do this to one client, one customer, you'll be laughing. When Brian says he can't book it right, he loves the holiday. He can't book it right now because he needs to speak to Linda and she's out for dinner with the girls tonight. She's not going to be back till later. Once you get to the point where you can say to a customer, Brian, why don't you book it as a secret for us, as a surprise? And see what Brian says, you're laughing. If you can build something like that with a customer and you can have that little bit of guts, that little bit of a, like I say, ballsy edge, you will see the money come rolling in. You will see the bookings come flying in. That's also not going to happen every time. So Brian is going to need to speak to Linda, and it could be that Linda wears the pants. It could be that they genuinely just split everything on this. Things like holidays, they split everything. All decision making is between the two of them. Anything. It can be anything at all. Set your expectations. Okay, Brian, no problem at all. So Linda's not back till late tonight, is she not? How about then I give you a call tomorrow at about this time, 6:30. How does that sound to you? See how you're getting on. There's nothing wrong with that. You've done this work. Don't then leave them. You see it too often, and this is where you need to have a bit of structure, a bit of routine. Again, I'll keep using the word, a little bit of balls about you, just to be able to think, no, I've done this work. I am grabbing that customer. It's my commission. You've done it all. Don't let them go at the last minute. It is rule 101. It is the first thing that people fail at. And I don't like to use the word fail, but I've worked in many, many shops in my life, and you will see piles and piles and piles of customer enquiries. And some of them have been sat there for a week. Well, what's going on with them? Oh, I don't know. I'm just waiting for them to come back in. Why? Why are you waiting for that customer to come back in? Go and get that customer yourself. You'll also find after 24 hours and you ring in that customer when you've said that you will, again, don't overpromise and underdeliver. If you say that you are going to call a customer at a specific time, ensure you can do that. Because again, it falls into the trust situation and handing the money over and all of that kind of thing. So once you've then rang Brian back at 6:30, he will also have built up a little bit more guts because there may well have been something wrong with that holiday. It could have been the price, it could have been the hotel, it could have been the destination, anything at all. But what you'll find is when he's put the phone down and said that he needs to speak to Linda, in this case, when you call back 24 hours later, it means that he's kind of got Linda to blame for something not quite being right. So, although he may have thought it in the first place, he's got his backup of blaming Linda for the fact that they don't want to go to to a hotel that's an hour away from the airport. Well, when I spoke to Linda last night, she loves everything about it except it's an hour away from the airport. We really, really didn't want that, to be honest. So you'll find that he's got a bit more gutsy overnight as well, because he can use his backup of blaming somebody else if he didn't have the guts to tell you on the phone there and then. And then you know from there the price was okay. You know, although you can't now physically offer him that hotel because it's in the wrong location, you've certainly got images and a feel for what they want. So you're reducing your workload by 80%. And all you're doing now is you're looking for that kind of thing, just somewhere a little bit closer. So you've done all of that, whatever it might be, close the sale. Close that sale. I've rang you back 24 hours later. You've said that you're happy with everything. So are we going to go ahead and get this booked? Again, it's quite straight to the point. But if you skirt around it, you'll actually end up yourself talking people out of booking the holiday. There's different ways of trying this. It can be as straightforward as, are we getting this booked today? It can be, are you wanting to get the deposit sorted? Did I tell you that you can do this on a £99 deposit if you want to go ahead and book it? Whatever it might be, you're asking for the booking. You need to physically ask for that booking. If you don't ask for it, then the chances are, again, not every time, you will get customers that say, I want to go ahead with this, please. And you're like, fantastic. But you're also going to have customers who haven't done this kind of thing before. They may not have booked over the phone with somebody before, so they may not know the process. So you need to find what's right for you and your personality. A long, long time ago, in a very large high street chain that I used to work for, they brought in to stores for agents and what have you, that when a customer walked through the door, you had to, whether you liked it or not, you had to do what's called an opening phrase. And they gave us lists and they gave us ideas. And what they wanted was, for example, a lady will walk in and she's got an umbrella. And I'm using this example because my store at the time was in a shopping centre. Walked in with an umbrella. They wanted you to get up, stand in front of that lady and say, oh, I can see you've got an umbrella. Has the bad weather outside brought you in today? Now, I had, it was my assistant manager actually at the time. Her personality, she could say those words and they just flew out of her mouth. The customers loved it. It was a great talking point about how terrible the weather is and how great it's going to be wherever they want to go and what have you. I, at the time being 19 maybe, when this first came in, it just didn't come out of my mouth properly. I felt so uncomfortable. I felt as though I was almost imposing on somebody, having to go up to them and having to make a comment about, oh, you look like you might have just been and had your hair done, or as the terrible weather outside brought you in, I can see you've got an umbrella. It just did not come out of my mouth. And honestly, it used to panic me having somebody walk through the door, because if others were with other customers and it was me left, I knew that I had to get up and I had to go and use these things, these words and these lines with people. And my brain would just sort of go into meltdown, and I didn't feel like anything was going to come out my mouth correctly, or I was going to say something ridiculous, and it frightened me to death. And the truth of the matter is, they were so robotic with things that they wanted you to say and how they wanted you to put them across. They weren't opening it up to everybody's different types of personalities. And again, that is key. Using your own personality and being able to adapt. I think I've said this prior on one of these trainings before. You could well be sat with a group of, oh, not sat with, on the phone with a group of 17-year-old lads wanting to go on their first breakaway to Cavos or Benidorm or Ibiza, wherever it may be, followed by 80 something year old Mr. and Mrs. Smith who want to go on a Cunard cruise and it's their 16th time of cruising. Your personality needs to come across to those people every single time. It will be slightly different each time. I would happily, have a bit of a casual. I appreciate with my accent. I'm sure that sounds casual to everybody anyway, but I can get even more casual. I would happily talk to somebody, maybe like I was talking to a friend or a brother or something, if I've got a group of 17-year-old lads on the phone. On the flip side of that, of course, to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm going to talk to them more like maybe my own grandparents or a friend's grandparents or something like that. You might find that you speak a little bit slower. You might find that you articulate your words a little bit more, but you're still being yourself. I do it on here. I know that in certain things that I'm talking about, I'll talk a little bit faster. With other things I'm talking about, I'll talk a little bit slower and I'll maybe pronounce my words a little bit more. Um, that is everyday life. So use that as well with everybody and just keep trying different things. If you can build your confidence, it won't work every time, and that's okay. That's fine. I remember again, I'm going back to the same company actually, and around the closing of sale, they put us on a trial for 1 month of having to say to customers, okay, so you're happy with everything I've found, are you paying on a credit or debit card? So you are asking for the sale, but what I would say quite abruptly, to be honest with you. And you know what, it again, it's a bit uncomfortable at first, but then you realize it just doesn't work with every person. It will work with some, it won't work with others. Put your own spin on it, use your own personality. Me saying to somebody, go on then, get your debit card out. If I can do that with someone, it's because I've built up such a good rapport with them that I feel as though I can say that. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Keep trying different things. Try it with, if you feel comfortable enough, try it with your partner, try it with family members. If I were to say this to you, do you think it would come across rude? If I were to say this to you, would it make you want to book? Just keep trying things. Everybody's got their sort of own personality, but also everybody's got that little area that they may not even know that they had, and that's where that they will shine. That's where and a confidence ball of that big, every time something goes well, it'll just grow and it'll grow and it'll grow and it'll keep going to the point where you might have 500 things flying around your head that you can say to these customers about getting it booked. Come on, let's go for it. What's stopping you? Come on, tell me what's stopping you. I can't do my job properly if I don't know. Bit cheeky, but just go for it. The worst thing that somebody's going to say is no. And then you just find out why and you try again, you start again. I hope everybody understands where I was going with that. I am now going to open the Q&A. I'm happy for you to unmute if you want to ask a question, or if you'd rather pop it in the chat, I've got the chat up in front of me as well. If there's anything I've missed, if there's anything else you want me to go into, then now absolutely is the time to go for it. Ask me anything, give me ideas of what I might have missed. But the floor is over to you guys, if there is anything. Okay, well, there's nothing coming through in the chat, which means, well, I'm hoping that means I've done a pretty good job. It may not. Everybody could well have left. Who's to say? They're very daunting, aren't they, these Zoom calls? I don't really tend to look at myself backwards on a screen very often. My hair's the wrong way round and my face is the wrong way round. But yeah, anyway, so it is a shorter, or has been a shorter training tonight. As I say, I knew from the get-go it was just going to be a lot of me talking and speaking, but I do hope that people have managed to take a bit of something away, even if it is the odd thing here and there, the odd note, something new to try. It really, really is a lot of it down to your own confidence, just building it up. David, I can just see your question. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so with regards to finding out on the website how to look at holidays, etc., and to try and sell. So, David, this is where the travel cafe will ultimately become your best friend. So, obviously, there is work that you guys need to do yourselves here when it comes to suppliers and things like that. I do believe, I apologize because I literally did a travel cafe training last week. And I've got it up in front of me somewhere along my 500 tabs that are up there. But I think on the supplier list, I think there is actually a description underneath each one of the sort of speciality of that supplier. So again, finding how to look at holidays and things like that, using the systems is sort of trial and error. It's practice. It's getting in there yourself when you've got a spare 20 minutes and navigating yourself around these systems. So I hadn't used Gold Medal for 3 years, I think, ish. And it had changed massively within the last couple of weeks that we've had the contract for. So even I myself, having sold them for years and years and years, just logged in, started looking at holidays that, well, I looked at a few, some that I know I'd never be able to afford, some that didn't even include my daughter, so they were never happening. And I just messed around on the system, typed in destinations, do they not go there? Another thing you can do on some of these websites is you can actually order e-brochures to your own personal email address. So you can see then, if you were to get an e-brochure sent out to you, you can see then what they sell and things like that. I hope that helps slightly. As I say, there is work that you guys need to put in. And again, those sorts of things will start coming more naturally to you. The more you use these different suppliers, the more it will embed as to who they sell, what they do, who they are, what they might be best at. I think I spoke about the fact that with Gold Medal, you can book Florida up to March 2027 or something ridiculous like that. And it's just things like that if you just keep embedding them in, and just every now and again someone refreshes your brain on it, before you know it, you'll know to instantly go for them when you've got a big family that want to go to Orlando and they want a couple of years to be able to pay it off. So just do little bits yourself, dip in and out, or if you set an expectation with a customer with things like that, David. So If you get details from a customer and you know you can't do it there and then, set your expectations with them. I want to ensure I get the best deal for you. I want to ensure I tick all of your boxes. Leave this with me. Realistically, it's going to take me until probably 4 o'clock today. What time is best for me to call you after that? And use that as well, a real inquiry, to go onto the different websites, see who's got what, see who does that better, see who's got the better price, and just keep messing around with it. So I do hope that that helps. Minika. Oh, we've got a few now. We've got a few. Yeah. So Econ Pay, I will just go into very, very quickly. You should now all have had, some of you may have had one previously. Some of you may just be seeing it for the first time, but you should have received an email from EconPay. I believe the actual email address is like robot.econpay or something along those lines. Everybody was sent their own link weeks and weeks ago, but for some reason, a lot have not received them. So they were sent out again, I think this morning, certainly by lunchtime-ish, to everybody. Please check your junk email and see if it's gone in there. Brilliant. It does look as though everyone on has received it today. So that fills me with much joy. Robot at EconPay. Perfect. Thank you for that, Fran. So yeah, check your junk, check your spam. I've spent 2 days easily cross-referencing every single person that they had on their list and I had on mine to ensure that nobody whatsoever has been missed off the list. There is a handful of people. Nobody's name on here rings a bell to me with regards to this. So for anybody that isn't watching this in real time, there is a handful of people that will not have received this email from EconPay. The reason for that is I have sent you all direct emails. I don't have the correct telephone number for you, and you cannot be added into this system without the correct telephone number. So if anybody who isn't watching this in real time can't see their email from EconPay, please check to see if you've got one from me regarding your telephone number. If you still then don't receive one, please let me know. David, in regards to EconPay, I don't think I've received an email. Okay, bear with me just 1 second, very, very quickly. Okay. I'm just going into my notes, David. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop your details down. Oh, pardon me. In fact, David, could you swing me your email address, please? And I will just send you an email so that you've got mine. Samantha doesn't seem to have it either. Bear with me. Samantha, could you do the same, please? Could you just drop me a message with your email address on, please? Also, could you both pop on there your agent IDs as well? Because what I'll do then is I will take it away with me and just see A, that you're on the list, and B, if there's any problems or anything like that. Right, brilliant. Okay, does anybody, so just sorry, ever so quickly following on from that. So there is an EconPay training on Thursday. Again, I completely appreciate that some people will have done it. So if you don't need to, do not join. It's absolutely fine. But for those who don't know about it, are only just receiving their emails, may only just be hearing about Econ Pay, you absolutely are going to need this for suppliers going forward. Perfect. I've got both of your email addresses there, guys, and your agent IDs. Thank you very much. Okay, so has anybody got any other questions at all? I've got my eye on the chat. I can't see anything coming through. So if I'm again, I said this last week, I'll say it every single time. If you think of anything further down the line, drop me an email, give me a ring. It's no problem at all. I absolutely will answer what I can. Anything I cannot answer, I will take away with me. And I'll certainly try and find you the answer. If anybody thinks that they will benefit from any one-to-one Zoom calls and things like that that aren't recorded, that aren't, if some people feel silly on these things asking questions, by all means, drop me an email. As you can clearly tell, I can talk for hours about this kind of thing, no problems. So if there is anybody who feels as though they are truly struggling with the chit chat side of it, the breaking it down, the nitty gritty, the closing, all of that, by all means, I am happy to sit here on a Zoom call with you and chat properly back and forward, one to one, and see what we can do for you. But if that is everything, then I will let everybody go and enjoy the rest of the evening. And again, contact me should you need to. And I will see, hopefully, everybody on Thursday for the Econ Pay training. Thank you very much.